Okay, now it's time for Shop Talk. Joining us here on the focus group is Aurora Winter. Among many things, Aurora is a successful, let me get that out right, entrepreneur, best-selling author, TV writer, producer, and founder of Same Page Publishing, which is samepagepublishing.com. She's the author of 10 books, including Turn Your Words into Wealth, a blueprint for your business, brand, and book. She advocates that proper storytelling will lead to business success. It sounds easy. So welcome to the focus group, Aurora.
It's great to be on the show with you too.
Thanks. To start off with, you transitioned from running a very successful business, a yacht business, in fact, and then you were in film and TV production and executive with media. Then you pivoted yet again to be a business storytelling expert. And so our question for you was, what was your aha moment, or when did you realize that you had this ability or that the power of story could transform this business communication consultancy you now have?
I've always loved story, and I've been really fascinated with books, nonfiction books, fiction books since I was 9. So I would say that I'm basically obsessed with storytelling. And what I discovered running different businesses in different industries is that it wasn't actually about whatever I was selling. It was about the story. That made the world of difference. It made the world of difference from, struggling, eating rice and beans with my husband on the first business that we started. Like, honestly, he had to claim, workman's compensation or whatever, because we just could not pay the rent for this postage stamp sized office and home that was combined 400 square feet, to
Wow.
being the largest yacht dealership in Western Canada, a multi-million-dollar business with double the gross margins of our competitors. And that was because of, yes, a good product, but a really compelling, clear story. And it's been that way with every business. It's not about the product or service so much as it is about the story. If you don't have a clear story, then you're competing with everybody else.
Aurora, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to
Thanks,
have you.
John.
One thing that I'm kind of curious about is in our business, when we think of consulting and we think of interacting with existing companies and their brands, the way in is often convoluted to get to some decision makers.
Yeah.
And the thing that I puzzle about is I'm always struck by how employees of companies are obsessed with ROI. What is the value you're bringing to us is going to do what to our business? And I think story is one of those things that you can't necessarily pin an immediate ROI on. So when you approach a company and you're consulting with a group of people, who do you like to approach to talk to get in the door? And then are they slaves to how's this going to transform? Is it going to transform the business overnight, or is it going to be? Do you really set expectations once you're in the door?
That is a very good question. Well, I always like talking to the decision maker because everybody else can only say no. And I find that CEOs are really great to talk to because their brain dominance, they actually have all 4 quadrants of brain dominance firing, so they can be very fluid and ambitious. And the best way for me to prove value is come to one of my mastermind events. I've had this happen several occasions. Every entrepreneur or founder I've worked with who had started off raising 0 capital, once they got their message clear with my help, they raised at minimum 7 figures, or more usually 8 figures. So most of the people I work with are super smart, super ambitious, very capable. There's no doubt about their expertise or their integrity, but their message is whoa, spaghetti, And once they had a clear message, I had one fellow, Tarney Williams is his name, the first day of the event, come up, stand in front of everybody, say what you do, what you're up to. Everybody was impressed that they liked him, but they had no clue what his business was when he sat down. By the end of the event, people at the event invested in his company because his message was clear.
Does it have to be? Does it have to be your own story?
No. In fact, you should collect stories of people. They could be famous people, but they could also be stories of people who you've affected. I like to I like to offer people, blueprints, because once you understand the blueprint of communication, you can do it. And here's a simple blueprint that everybody can understand. It's like, what was the hell that the person was in before they worked with you or before they used your product or service? And what was the heaven that you took them to? No, so for an example would be with my company, Same Page Publishing, the CEO, one of the CEOs that I'm working with right now, he was struggling for 12 years to work on his book. And he just, he's a busy executive and he doesn't have 10,000 hours as a writer. And now he's like, he said, I've never been so excited about this project. This project is clear. He's already got a first draft. We're shooting for a New York Times bestseller. I think we're going to get there. And it's transformed an obstacle, a disappointment, a coulda, shoulda, woulda into it's happening, right? And that 12 years of time, I can't give him that back, but now he's on his way with our work together.
It's a great example. Do you run across alternate strategies for how businesses approach things? And I'll frame it this way. Years ago, I was introduced to Simon Sinek's The Golden Circle, Why, How, What. And that's a very particular way of thinking about something. It's not necessarily story-based, but if you answer the why, how, what correctly, you have a story you can tell. So you have probably walked into companies or you've worked with individuals who have encountered a couple of different strategies for improving their business. Do you have to sometimes unravel that to get to story, or do you have to build on it?
I like what you just said about the why, how, what. And I think that you can also add another component to that. But what I find is that people, especially engineers, they get really stuck in just talking about one. This one. They just talk about the what, and I think why, how, you want to add who to that. So people's brain dominance, people will filter. CEOs filter for why. Why are we doing this? Engineers filter for what. People filter for who. And then other people, the executors, filter for how. So a message, even a corporate message, should touch on all four of those things before going in too much depth on any one. Because you will leave the person. If you haven't answered why, and I'm in the audience because I'm a CEO, I can't really listen because I don't know why you're talking about this, right? But for other people, it might be the who. They really need to understand who is this going to help before they're fully listening. So it's good to touch on all four of those things really quickly. That might not necessarily be a story, but at least you will have reached out to everybody.
Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
No, you finish that, John. Finish that thought, because I was going to ask a selfish question about you and I.
Well, and that leads me to this next thought of, we often have these. We're talking about major corporations, people that are doing angel investing. They're raising large amounts of capital. But let's take it down to a small business or a sole proprietor or someone who's consulting, for example. I think that you could adapt your book and your thought process to scale to anything. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I really like pointing out to people that the number 3 search engine is Amazon. So if you have some kind of expertise, you really should have a book on Amazon. That's super important, and then everybody can find you around the world, but you need to have a very good title and subtitle so people who have the problem that you solve can find you. Then the number 2 search engine is YouTube, which is why I have a YouTube channel, Strategic Basics. So I believe it's really important in the day of AI for people to see face. And I think those two together will put you at the top of the new search engine, the AEO, right? Because they index books and if you have a lot of content. So I think YouTube, I disagree with Gary Vee. I really love him. I think he's got great content. If you're running a Fortune 500 company, but I think if your business is under 3 million and you have a media team of under 3 people, that if you just focus on Amazon and YouTube, you'll be good to go. And I think the big danger for people or entrepreneurs with companies under 3 million is frittering away their energy on social media. So I'm a stand for choose the highest leverage things, which Amazon's the number 3 search engine, YouTube's the number 2, good to go.
Wow. So selfishly, I guess this leads right into John and I are best known for the 15-year campaign we did in niche marketing, particularly LGBTQ, and really just gay and lesbian marketing to the consumer for Subaru, the car
Yeah, I
brand.
read
And
that there was quite, what, 4 times as many who purchased Subaru or
purchased
something.
right at the time.
Stunning.
Females, lesbians were, and it's been written up in Harvard Business School and case studies, and we've been interviewed a lot, particularly when Pride time comes. And John and I have tried to leverage that as a story
Yeah.
through our business, and we've had some success over the years. But right now, in the current environment where people have confused DEI with marketing, it's been a real struggle for us. We've been doing this podcast for a radio show we started on Sirius XM for going on 18 years. And I feel, and I think John can either agree or disagree with me, that we're a little stuck in trying to figure out how to get attention again and or tell the story to grow the business. And
Let's talk about that. A couple of things. One, just because a story worked at a certain point doesn't mean that it couldn't benefit from refreshing. And you have a bunch of stories. So if that one's not working, pull out another one. But let's work on that one for just a second. So I didn't read the Harvard Business Review in depth. I just saw, that 4 times was like stunning. So what I want to know is, were you at cause for that increasing, or did you notice that increasing and capitalize on it? Because correlation is not causation, but if you were at cause for any portion of that, that makes the story even more powerful, because then you've got an ROI argument.
Right.
What was it that you observed that and capitalized on, or was it that your activities actually increased the number of purchasers from that specific group?
Right. Well, it was John's agency had done some research and focus groups and found that women head of households, which ended up being as identified as lesbians, were the purchasers of the product at 4 times more the general public, and then presented the information to the brand, and then we capitalized on that, but then grew it to be even more. So, and still talked about today, even though we started, John, 1995, 96?
Yeah, 94.
Yeah, or 94. So, and we've been, John particularly, he's in Manhattan. He's been at conferences and heard people tell his story.
That's
John's
a powerful
like,
story when you get to
why
that
are
point.
we telling this story? So, but we're just
Well,
wondering about it. Have you run into people that have had the same issue where maybe the cultural environment right now or the business environment just is not friendly to what our story is?
Everything goes in cycles. So just, if you don't like the cycle, just wait a little bit. But I would challenge you to refresh the story if you're noticing that the political pushback is making that story not work as well as it did.
Right.
You could consider challenging the listeners with the question. And the question might sound something like, what if part of your market is starving for what you have to offer, but you don't know who they are?
Right.
We have a track record of identifying the audience that's hungry for what you have to offer, and then making sure that that our marketing reaches out to them. You don't even have to mention who that target was.
Right.
Right? And I think that is a really compelling argument. I think that happens so often that people make the mistake. It's like the social media point that I made earlier, even though I love Gary Vaynerchuk, like furthering attention equally across all possible venues or all possible buyers is like the worst mistake a small business can make. In fact, I was just reading in Revenge of the Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Here, this could be a resource for you. Oh, John's nodding. He's
actually,
read
Malcolm
it.
Gladwell lives up by where I have a country house, and I saw him jogging about a week ago. And as I rode my bike by, and I said, "Hello, Malcolm." Didn't even pay attention. But anyway.
No, so rude.
But anyway, back to his new book.
But anyway, I recommend that you take a peek at Revenge of the Tipping Point, because he talks about the power of the small groups. And I'm probably going to mangle the numbers, so don't hold me to the numbers. But the basic concept was when they were trying to push prescription drugs, the marketing people who worked for the drug company, I won't say the drug company's name because might get us in trouble if I say the wrong number. They were just reaching out to all doctors equally. And they were annoying a lot of doctors and pissing off a lot of doctors. And eventually, they were not getting good returns. And then they spent, in the end, this company spent, I think, $40 million with one of the top 5 consulting firms. $40 million. And what they told them to do, which actually really worked, like a you-know-what, is they said, let's just focus on the doctors who are already prescribing
The medication.
this medication. And they zeroed in on it. It was like 0.1% of the doctors, and they blew up the sales for this prescription medication, which is now not a good thing to take. But your story add one of Malcolm Gladwell's stories. Maybe find another story about an example where a company was wasting money by treating all prospects the same way. Your example is already 4x. That's huge. Malcolm Gladwell's was 1000x. Find another story, then you've got a new keynote.
Aurora, that's really fascinating because I used to always say in my agency days, it's a silver bullet, not buckshot. So if you design a presentation for maybe 5 different people, it's a silver bullet. You don't want to design a presentation for 40 because how's that story, you're spreading this story out to all these people that are not even going to pay attention to it. So I like your thought process. It matches with what I'm thinking. Now, before time's a terrible thief, and we're going to run out of time here in a minute. So I have a question for you, though.
Okay.
If you could give our listeners one practical exercise that they could use to start turning their words into wealth, what do you think that would be?
The simplest exercise is start collecting those hell to heaven stories.
Hell to heaven.
Or heaven to hell.
Yeah.
So they start off in the hell, and then after they've worked with Tim and John, they spend less marketing money to get bigger results because they're zeroing in on the 4x. There are other recipes for communication, and once you understand the blueprint of communication, you can paint it any color you like with any story that you like. So I have a whole bunch of blueprints in Turn Words into Wealth, but here's one simple example that I can give, and I think it will really make a lot of sense to people. You want to understand, or you're well served to understand, the neuroscience of communication and how the brain works. The first filter is the croc brain. So in the blueprint, that is the foundation. Unless you get the attention of the croc brain with a hook or something, what category are we in? You might still be talking, but they're not listening. So you got to build a foundation first. So an example would be Turn Words into Wealth. That's what category are we in? People might lean forward. But people often they do it in the wrong sequence, or they miss the second one, which is the midbrain. So human beings didn't survive for millennia because we're faster or stronger or have sharp claws or sharp teeth. We survive because of other people. So we're hyper aware of status and who else thinks this is a good idea. So this book is an award-winning book. You can see the awards. The fact that we're talking to each other is social proof. I think John and Tim are worth talking to. They think Aurora is worth talking to. Hit that social proof just really quickly, and then you can go on to the cerebral cortex with the core of your argument. But that should not take more than 5 minutes, and then circle back around, rinse and repeat, because people's attention, is short. And if you keep re-engaging all those 3 parts of the brain, you'll be good to go. So the croc brain is more like you have to have the foundation. The midbrain are the walls, and the top, the cerebral cortex, is the roof. And so many people try to put the roof on first, or they forget about the walls, or they don't dig a foundation. You need all 3 to communicate effectively. And I think with that metaphor, people will remember.
Well, I think that's a great selling point for the book, and we have to let you go. I'm unfortunate.
Can I ask one quick
go
question,
ahead, Tim,
John?
yep.
Just because I'm curious, what's going on with AI?
Oh yeah, that's the real one-line answer.
You just tossed a grenade into the room.
But I was just wondering.
That's a good question.
No, I'll shorten it to everybody thinks, okay, I'll just type in some prompts and it'll write
Yeah.
the book for me. Have
Yeah.
you seen that, or is that what one of
Do
the
you know
challenges
that
you run into?
62% of the books on Amazon have one review or fewer? And
Wow.
those are the ones that are made by AI. So
Ah.
here's what we know about large language models. They will predict the next most likely word. What is something that is predicting likely? It's average or mediocre at best. So I think the only way to survive in the age of AI is lean into storytelling. I think information is dead. People want information. They're just going to go to ChatGPT. How do I do this? How do I do that? But stories, no. You're the only one who has your stories, your hell, your heaven, the things you've overcome, the things you're passionate about, the people you've helped. That is gold. So I encourage people to lean into stories, and then use AI to help you proof, so you don't have typos, and that you
Right.
can more effectively do research, but lean into what you're passionate about, your authentic self, who you serve, what you want to stand for, and your brand is what other people say about you. So what kind of brand do you want to develop? Build it around your story. I think you'll be good to go.
Brilliant, because I think the human race is really good at two things: storytelling and music. But that's just me. I think that's a great answer, Aurora. We've been talking to Aurora Winter. She is the author of a new book called Turn Words into Wealth. You might have seen it on the screen if you're watching on our YouTube channel. And you could visit her and the book you could see at samepagepublishing.com. It's also available on the world's second largest or third largest search engine, Amazon.com. By the way, that's
That's
a new
right.
one on me. I knew about Google and YouTube. Now that you put in the Amazon, I got that triple play there. So we want to thank you, Aurora, for joining us. It's been a fantastic conversation, and we wish you the best of luck with the book. I'm going to look into it. I think you've given us some actionable insights and information to work with. So again, thanks for joining us here on the Focus Group.
Thank you.